Hello and welcome to part 36 of my 3D modeling series. In this video I'd like to teach you guys about unwrapping your model. So up till now I've been talking a lot about modeling and different techniques, and I still have a long way to go in that regard, but I'd like to also teach you simultaneously about how we can begin to texture our models and apply different materials. But before I can do that, I first need to teach you the basics of unwrapping. So the best way to think of this as inverse papercraft. Whereas in papercraft you have a two-dimensional piece of paper, and you cut it out and you fold it until you get something three-dimensional, a character or an item, an object, something like that. With unwrapping you're doing the opposite. You already have your 3D object, now you're trying to make it flat. So there are two modifiers that relate to this. We have UVW map and unwrap UVW. And the way you should think about this is that a UVW map is like a quick and dirty version of unwrap UVW. It's like a makeshift version of unwrap UVW. Most of the time you should use unwrap UVW, but if you want to quickly texture an object that's not very important and won't be close to the camera, then you can probably get away with just using UVW map. So you can see I've got unwrap UVW in my shortcut box here, and anytime I'm ready to unwrap an object I can just click here. So let's go over what kind of parameters we have here. First of all, this modifier has three sub-object modes: vertex, edge, and face. Keep in mind that this is not the same as edit poly. You can't actually move or do any operations like cut or extrude. This is purely, once you're ready with your object, then you start the unwrapping process. If you plan on doing any more edits to your object, I recommend not unwrapping it. Only unwrap once you've completely finished with your object and you're happy and you've got all the quads that you would like and all the control edges. So we have some simple parameters here in the selection parameters. We have plus and minus that can be used to grow and subtract what we have currently selected. If you get to a certain point, you won't be able to, for example, I can press plus and it will grow. If I press plus again, it will grow. But now if I press minus, it's not going to shrink because now it has no frame of reference. And that's similar with the minus. If I grow, if I click minus, and now I click on plus, it has no frame of reference, so it doesn't really know from what it's trying to grow. So keep that in mind. But this is used to grow and shrink your selection. Next we have ring and loop, which is only possible with the edge mode. As you can see, when I switch to face or vertex, the ring and loop become dark, which means you can't use them. But that's self-explanatory. I've already told you guys how you can use ring and loop with edges and edit poly, and it's the same concept here. Ignore backfacing is also similar. If I try to control everything, select everything, you can see it does not select the back faces. However, if I uncheck ignore backfacing, that will select everything. So keep in mind this is on by default. Select by element allows me to select by element just like I would with edit poly. In this case it's not much good because it's just one element here. Planar angle allows me to select the face and then select adjacent faces depending on what angle they are from the original. This is set to 15 degrees, so the difference, so you can see as this object goes up here and then there's an angle and it goes this direction, this is greater than 15, so it will not select that. But if I, for example, move this out, you can see that the angle is now less. This is a sharp angle, this is 90 degrees, but here it's not so sharp anymore. So now if I apply unwrap UVW, check this, maybe increase it to something like 35, you can see now it selects both this face and that face, because the difference between this angle, it's no longer 90, it's now less than 35, this angle right here, which means that it has selected